Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Carissa DeShays, and this is my weekly podcast, Faith Over Fear. We got the one and only Brian Tyrie here with us today. Thank you so much for being on my platform.
Thank you.
I'm glad we finally connected.
Yeah,
I know it's been kind of like I don't want to say a battle, but I always tell people that, nothing happens in the world by mistake. So clearly today we had some things we had to talk about. So I appreciate your time. And is this your first time being on a podcast, or have you done?
No, I actually co-hosted for a couple internet radio stations before. When I first started into music, I took a hiatus off of music just recently, but I'm getting back into it and stuff. I'm getting back into marketing and business development and helping artists. So reach out to me if you need anything. Brian Tyrie Music on all social media.
So how long have you been doing music for?
So playing music and learning how to play since I was probably 8 years old. Started with grandma's electric organ and turned into learning how to play guitar from my uncles and my family members. And then, I learned when computers started getting popular, I learned how to be a music producer and making hip hop beats. And I've always liked all kinds of music, like every genre. So music producer felt normal and natural for me to blend all the different styles that I like as a music fan.
How did you know that was something that you were interested in doing, music production? When did that kind of begin for you?
Listening to other beats, and I was like, I could do that. And just having ideas. Just being like, imagine if somebody did this. Like, I listen to a lot of Wu-Tang Clan, a lot of Dr. Dre, a lot of Nas music, and sample-based music. And I love to still, at this time, use vocal samples. And now it's more of using a sample and then filter it so that it, comes in and out and that, just different sounds. I like to experiment with different sounds. Learning how to play guitar, learning how to have your own guitar tone through a electric guitar amp, and then applying that to other instruments. I was kind of the guy that I know how to play a little piano, a little guitar, a little bit of the drums, but I wanted to learn more. And I always wanted to learn how to play saxophone and stuff like that.
So you found yourself always challenging when it came to music in general?
Never-ending evolution of I want to learn this and I want to learn that. And I'm it took me a long time to learn the instruments I know how to play.
Of course.
So, music production basically gives you an opportunity to play a little on the piano, switch the instrument, and now it's a flute.
So even when you were listening to tracks back in the day, Wu-Tang and all those, creators, you were really focused in on the beat.
Yep.
And I know obviously the lyrics are incredible as well.
Yeah.
But you were really, really focused in on the music. That's really cool.
Well, part of it also is kind of funny because it's I hate the sound of my own voice.
Mm-hmm. So
I never wanted to be the front guy. I was the DJ, I wanted to see the producer side of things. I saw myself as wanting to be in music business. Even at a young age, I was I want to be the guy that can find the artist and create a sound around them. Because as a music fan, I would buy an album and I would listen to it from track one, whether it was DMX, whether it was whatever, and I was caught myself reading the inside of the CD or whatever it is and being amazed, this song was recorded in New Jersey. This song was recorded in Connecticut. You know what I mean? This song was recorded in all this, and I was did he make the album while he's on tour, or did he do that? And I was, the music magazine guy. Listen, reading Guitar Magazine, reading the Source Magazine, Double XL, a fan of physical music, you know what I mean? Just becoming, just evolving from that. I wanted to do as much as I can. And when it came time to actually spending the money to get the music production stuff, I realized this is kind of expensive. So I'll go back to my roots, what I'm good at. And that's why I started with marketing first. I was a marketer. I hate to use the word promoter. I was a digital marketer because this is a cheaper way of promoting an artist or whatever it might be and still getting the best of, the best, in other words, best,
Yeah, so when you went into digital marketing, obviously you knew that like production and investing in music, it takes money. So you went back to your roots as to something that you could still be creative in,
Yes.
but also be able to have the income to continue to invest in yourself.
Yeah, so I started like writing music reviews, stuff like that, charging like as less as possible, just so I could make it like affordable for an artist, but also, get them something behind their brand. You know what I mean? And some cross promotion through my brands and stuff like that.
And were these artists that were local? Like, just were you networking? Were these artists that
started off with social media? Just
Okay.
anybody that was looking for the next step. Like, all right, I got a recorded song, I got a great image, cover art that goes with it, but what's the next step? So we would I worked and I had a network of people at that time that I don't really work with anymore because they all branched off and they all evolved and did their own thing. But I started off with a lot of social media promotion and then booking artists for interviews, kind of like this one, right? And just establishing social proof for whoever my client was. And then while I'm doing that, I'm reinvesting everything that I'm making into the programs and my own music production. So finally, right around 2020, I released myself as a music producer. And people were like, you make beats? It was like shock. And I was like, I planned on that since 2014 to 2020. I was behind the scenes creating a brand for artists, doing more business development, and then, released myself as a music producer in 2020.
I mean, I think it's great that you talk about like reinvesting into yourself as well, because I think like in today's society, we live in a place that people want instant gratification.
Oh, yeah.
And just kind of hoping that overnight they're going to become this successful,
right.
Entrepreneur, and I can just jump into this. And I think it's wonderful to have ideas, but I think where the real success lies is when you're able to focus in on one thing that it is you want to do and understand that you're going to have to reinvest. There's constant knowledge, and especially in the music industry. I grew up in a really musical household. My dad had every album you could think of. He had records like from Diana Ross to Queen to Michael Jackson to Alicia Keys, like Carpenters. Like I grew up in such a diverse musical household, which is beautiful because, music. And I sang my whole life. I was in choir, like all the level 4 choir, chamber choir. You had to sight read a song to even get into the choir. And so, it's a lot of dedication. But the thing that's really amazing about music, it's going to continue to be made. And another thing that I find incredible is that there's so many different types of artists. And so you could listen to a song from Aerosmith and it could be about, heartbreak. And then you can listen to a song by Chris Brown and it can be about the same type of topic, but such a different sound.
Yeah.
The beat, the lyrics, everything. And music is the one thing I feel that really brings people together from all walks of life, which is incredible, So it's, there's a song out there for everything you're going through. How many times has music gotten you through stuff in your life?
Oh, I wouldn't be here today without it.
Going to the gym, or you're boxing, or you're maybe you want to relive an emotion. I lost my dad a couple years ago. And so if I want to feel my dad or remember him in a way, I'll put a song on.
Right.
And it brings that joyous memory, that feeling back. That's the power of music.
And I've even, just since you mentioned that, I've helped artists make tribute songs for people.
I love that.
And stuff like that. And that's my thing that, another thing with 2020, it was everybody wanted a Drake type beat. Everybody wanted a this and this type beat. And I'm like, let's make you a you type.
I was going to say, you probably know a lot of people, because people get inspired, which I think is great. But I think, one thing I've talked about on my podcast before, and I'm sure you identify just with who you are as a person and what you're growing into, is being your authentic self is your superpower. And so you can have inspirations, but I love that you challenge people on that because it's getting them connected. Okay, Drake is there. Drake is great, but we don't want to make you another Drake.
I'm trying to be your 40. Let's find your sound.
Right.
And I'm such a nerd about it too, because I'm a lot of people don't even understand that that's what they were doing. They were there's so many different things out right now. Let's create something around your voice, your specific voice. Unless you sound, when you speak like I am right now, exactly like Drake or whoever, insert artist here, right? Lil Wayne, any of that stuff. Lil Wayne got a high-pitched voice. That's why there's so much that curates to that vocal. You know what I mean? If you got a deep voice, sonically speaking, you need the beat to balance out when the mix and the engineer, and again, like
right, to compliment you, not to go against you. Yeah,
So
you don't want to
like,
be singing Mariah Carey if you're an alto, you know, because your vocal range is, you maybe want to try more like Billie Eilish or Lana Del Rey or something of that nature. You don't want to be, it's like the people that go on American Idol and they're like, my whole life, my friends have been telling me that I sound just like Christina Aguilera, and then they sing and they're like, I'm like, first of all, you need new friends. But no. So how do people like usually respond when you kind of embrace that, of them being like who they really are? Do you feel that they have that direction within themselves as to where they want to go, or do you think that you, I guess, more or less encourage them to find that, like, what does the process look like for people?
Well, any artist that's been in the studio with me watching this knows that I don't really I just be like, all right, let's try this. And then I'll just switch around and do what I think would work for them. And then while we're listening back and they're like, oh my God, yeah. Then I kind of break the news to them a little bit of like, this is why I did what I just did.
Right.
And then I get back to that part where it's like, your voice is curated for this beat because, you know what I'm saying? Usually I'll do it like that, where I'm not I don't want to start an argument with somebody. I'm just like, let's try this, just humor me. You know, like, and then if it works and they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, this is why I did it like that, and this is how we're going to do it from now on.
Right.
And we're going to find yours.
And you want to support them.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you want people to feel safe, and I think when you're approaching it in that way, it gives people an opportunity to feel comfortable to grow. Because especially if they've been identifying with they're the next Drake for, 10 years and all they want is Drake type beat, Weeknd type beat,
Yeah.
like so.
And I can do that, by the way. Like, I can do that all day long. Right.
If I'm around somebody who's an entrepreneur, a business person, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions because I want to learn from you. Exactly. There's space for all of us to grow.
Yeah.
But again, it just goes back to being your authentic self. And for so long, like, I'll share something with you. And I struggled with an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And I mean, in high school, I was emo. I went scene. I was listening to Asking Alexandria, like all these things. And then I went to like, oh, I'm a prep. Like, I didn't know who I was. And so now that I'm embracing who I am,
right,
it's badass.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was the same. I was a skateboard kid that played electric guitar, listening to Wu-Tang Clan. And I was like, they had like this like weird segregation in middle school where it was like, these are the rapper kids, and these are this kids, and these are the hip-hop kids, and this is the metal scene. And I was just like, I'm friends with whoever's cool.
Same.
I'm just friends with, like, your personality. Like, they're like, I see you sitting at all the... I was the kid that sat at a bunch of different lunch tables. I didn't have one spot that I always went to. I was mingling with, like, the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're in like middle school and high school anyway, you don't really know who you are. You're kind of like figuring it out. So that was like my awkward stage. And then as you get older, and even still, we're still learning. Like you're constantly, even with the production that you're doing. I'm sure, obviously, this was my first time meeting you, but I'm sure you're challenging yourself and constantly learning.
School was cool too because I got free terminology concerts at lunchtime. He was a senior when I was.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that.
In Haverhill High. So I'm like, I remember speaking through Raw Epilogue at intern. A lot of people won't know that mixtape. That was a $5 mixtape that they was giving away for free if you was just hanging out. And we had Little Man, literally that was his name, that would be like breakdancing. And there's no equipment. They're just rapping.
Yeah, it was just raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing.
It was crazy. So it's just like, I'm from that time when it was like packed house parties and stuff like that. And I was looking around and I was like, this is possible. I saw the future of what he was going to do. I didn't really follow the crowd that much. I was like, I got a different lane, kind of. I don't really fit in with a lot of people. So, like, I didn't try to... I was also, running around doing stupid kid stuff. As I said, I was younger than him. But I seen it and I was like, this dude's going to go places. Right. And then he started getting features with, like, Static Selector and stuff like that. Working with Static Selector and getting the big, features and stuff, Joel Ortiz and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, I see what he's doing. He's going to pay to get a feature, promoting correctly, touring, doing all the things that the groundwork that need to get done. And I was like, a student at that point, and then trying to reiterate that to artists that I want to work with. And, that was just where we come from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like like you said, it's really like consistency, and it takes discipline, and it takes hard work, and
Yeah.
it takes times where, you know, you're like, am I even where I need to be?
Right.
Question your sanity, you question your existence, you are almost ready to throw in the towel, but then there's that little part of you that says, no, like, this is what I'm meant to do. When you can feel that fuel within your soul, it keeps you from going. And now what's great about what you're doing is you're opening up opportunities for other people. So you're not being, I mean, I guess selfish in a way of obviously having boundaries for your peace, but you're not being selfish by being like, I'm not going to give you any information. I'm not going to help you. And I'm going to sit here and I'm right. Like you're creating opportunities for other people, you know, which is amazing.
I have a music mentorship program that I'm opening it up to the public now. Before it was just buy beats off of me. You have questions, consultation style. I got some music. You can find it, Brian Tyrie Music. There's a small little album that I made called I Writ It, AI Spit It. And it's just a way for me to promote my ghostwriting skills. I didn't make the beats. It's just something I wrote the verses, and I wrote in the style of, one song's like in the style of Nas. One song's in the style of Linkin Park. One song's in the style of Ed Sheeran. Just to show my versatility and knowing all sides of song creation. I've been an engineer before, recording the vocals, mixing the vocals, music production.
So what do you think has been like the most challenging part of your process?
Most challenging part for me is establishing a vision for what the artist wants to do for themselves without them comparing to other success stories. That's to find the uniqueness in somebody and have them see what I see. You know what I mean? Because music's one of those businesses where client comes to you and they have a preconceived hope for their future. And you have to kind of redevelop what their sound is sometimes, or blend, right? So I try to imagine myself as like I'm the band and you're the lead singer, right? So you might have a vision of what you want to do, but if it's not in my style range, or like I might have, you know what I mean? Like you have to, it's why some lead singers and the rest of the band don't sometimes get along, because the lead singer wants to do this, but it's like, I play guitar how I play guitar. You know what I mean? Like, let's work together on this, create something magical, and then, we'll worry about the music business and the promoting and where we're going to put it and how we're going to promote it and what the artwork's going to look like later.
So basically just be, I guess, in a way, like open-minded and being willing to take suggestions.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I don't work with just anybody. My beats are not just available like 30 beats for $15. I don't do that. I do custom work with the artist for the artist. I listen to their music before I even try to send them beats because I want it tailored.
I mean, I think that's great. I think you're like looking at who they are as an artist, and you're seeing their image of what they're trying to create. Yeah. And from my understanding, it sounds like you're trying to build on that, and not change completely who they are. Right. And that can be confusing for people too, especially maybe if they're, I guess, struggling maybe in a sense of direction that they want to go, and then you have, which is great. Like some people, 30 beats, $15, whatever, that works for you, but that can maybe be a little hard to structure yourself as an artist instead of having somebody that's like, no, I love what you're doing. This is what we can work on. But like you said, we can work on that at the end. Let's work on the sound. Let's work on the vocals. Let's work on taking that harmony and accelerating your voice to create an amazing sound.
Right.
So you're polishing them off. You're not like, okay, no, what is this? Like, no, we're going to change this entire, this isn't working for you. So you talked about this mentorship. So what does that pretty much like entail? Like the mentorship you're talking about? Like, is that where you were saying like bringing artists in and working with them one-on-one? And
yeah, I mean, you don't have to be local. I can Zoom or phone call or whatever, but we email back and forth. So like, for example, I got an artist I'm working with and he's great at freestyling. When I give him a beat and he sends me back the vocals, I'm like, your topic is all over the place. Like, this is a great freestyle. Let's make a song, right? So I'm teaching structure. I'm teaching how to make a catchy hook without it being too pop oriented. It doesn't have to be, for it to be a catchy hook, it doesn't have to be, any one style genre. You know what I mean? And Wu-Tang Clan and all the, New York rappers, the LA rappers, even Michigan and the Detroit scene, the Southern artists. Like, these are all different styles of music that you can have a catchy hook that people are going to love that, and how to develop it, how to make it yours. You know what I mean? Without dumbing it down.
Right, which is amazing.
And to take it to the next step. Music mentorship is basically just the next level. Well, you bought the beat, you wrote the song. What are we doing?
That's good. Yeah, and it takes a team of people, right? Like it's important. And I mean, as an artist, like I love to create, so I can paint, and I did music my whole life, and I have songs that I've written. I'm like, like super protective, So, but I think it's important, even with the work that I'm doing with content creation and marketing, and to work as a team.
Exactly.
Because when you're open and you're not so fearful, and that's why I call this podcast Faith Over Fear. Because for me, fear can be as simple as something that's holding you back. Like, people think fear is like this big scary thing. It's like, no, fear can be as simple as something that's holding you back. So when you take that leap of faith, whatever that looks like to you, and that could be as simple as trusting another person with your creation, it's going to open up a whole new level. Like, I've told people, networking will get you farther than anything in life.
And that's how I built most of what I have. Like, it's just cross promotion, just looking at what's going on here and what's the music world missing. I make recovery music, Shout out to Killer Chris, Christian Garrison. Check out Without You. It's without, but just You by Killer Chris. It's an amazing song. It's got a dark background. It's got the vocal chops. It's got hard-hitting drums, all those things. But it also has a message from a recovery standpoint, coming from the times of active addiction and how to get to the next step, and the pain that we go through. There's pain music, and then there's drug addiction music. But we like to look at it like this is recovery music. This is something we can look at and say, this is where we were, and this is where we are. You know what I mean? And embrace what made us who we are. And that's what me and him are doing. And it all started with, I sent him a beat, honestly. It was kind of dark, but it's I don't want to go on without you. It's type of a vibe. But I was like, what? And he's like, I wrote like 27 bars straight. Like, we got to fix the beat now. So we kept on sending it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until it fit. And that was an amazing process that me and him had, because we couldn't be in the studio together. Like, he lives all the way out in Michigan. I live here in Manchester. So we made it work, you know what I mean? And it was only a couple days of doing that, and the song was complete, and he's like, all right, I'm going to start shooting the video.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And that's like the beautiful thing about, social media too, and having that outlet, because I'm not going to lie, if I didn't have my podcast, I'd probably throw my phone off a cliff somewhere. It's great because you get to, like, even I got to network with you and meet you, and then you're able to send a song, and like, someone could be across the United States or on the other side of the world, and you can still have a creation with two people. And I think that's a really powerful message. And I love that you said, that there's different aspects to making music that might be about recovery. Like, obviously there's like the addiction, like going through it, and all types of music is needed for somebody. And so, I feel like us as creators, and even with what you're doing, we have a responsibility, especially people being in recovery, that like, our responsibility with what we're creating is, if we help one person a day, like, we're making a difference. Exactly. So even if like one person heard that song and they're like, man, I'm not alone. This person gets it. Like, I feel that you did your job. That's incredible. And then not only that, but it's allowing yourself to, and this other artist you're working with, or anybody that's treating music in that sense, it's a healthy way. It's like therapy, because you can maybe not talk to people personally about your experiences, but then you can word it, or even in the beat that you're making, if it's like this intense and you're putting that emotion and but then this part gets a little softer. Like, think about classical music. Even if you listen to music, like, I'm trying to learn fluent Spanish, but if I hear music that's in another language that I don't speak, I can feel the emotion that they're singing, that they're speaking, in the harmony, the intensity. Look at the soundtrack for Star Wars. You mentioned Star Wars, okay? Right. So I grew up watching all those movies. So like Attack of the Clones, okay? Yeah. that I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the love theme from Attack of the Clones, and it gets like, it's super soft in the beginning and then it gets really intense.
Yeah.
And there's no lyrics, but you
Right,
can
right.
feel it. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a love song. Okay, these people are in love. Okay, now things are getting a little screwed up. Now it's like, oh man, I don't know what's happening, but
Yeah.
they're battling for real. You know, like-
Well, that's even more hilarious because, like, I make kind of darker music, right? Watch a horror movie on mute. Watch how funny that is. You're like, and then you turn it back on. You're like,
because it's the music.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I get it, and like that's what the part of like my journey has become, because that's kind of like where I wanted to go. I want to eventually be that like more mature music artist that's scoring music for movies and stuff like that. But for now, people want beats. I'm like, let's make music.
As long as you stay consistent and true to yourself, like life is going to bring you, and I'm sure you know this, but life is going to bring you exactly where you need to be.
Exactly.
Obviously, like we have free will as people, and so my free will for a long time, like definitely took me off like the cliff. But
Yeah.
you have freedom of choice,
Yeah.
but you also have that, like I feel like as long as you continue to push forward and have that ambition, even when it gets difficult, life is going to continue to open up opportunities for you.
Right.
You're going to network with somebody. You're going to continue to network with people. You might, oh, I know this person. Like, oh, I mean, that's how I met Chanel West Coast. Like, I ended up networking. I had somebody on my podcast that
Yeah.
became a really good friend of mine.
I've been wondering.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, he became, and shout out to King Polo. Much love to you. He became a really good friend of mine. And we were just talking, and he's like, how do you feel about meeting her? And I said, I would love to. Like, absolutely. And just to network with her and potentially have that as an opportunity eventually to, which I did talk to her about it, but eventually have that opportunity to network with her on a podcast or with what she's doing, whatever that looks like, and even just having the opportunity to meet her. So just from working, I was able to have that, and I had an amazing conversation with her. She's a beautiful person. We talked for 30 minutes. We were laughing. I felt like I knew her my entire life, and
Right.
that was beautiful. I didn't look at her like, oh my gosh, she's a celebrity. I looked at her like she's a human being.
Yeah.
Luckily, like doing this work, I have the gift to gab, so like you can put me in a room, the next thing you know, I'll be like, and it's the ADHD on top of that.
Right.
Shout out to all my ADHD people.
I've been trying to control it this whole time. I don't know how good I'm doing.
He
We'll
wants
find
to, he's
out
like,
after.
I love your energy. He's like, I totally get it. I'm like, yeah, I'm like having a conversation about like 5 different things. But you followed me. It's
Right,
great.
right, right.
Yeah, networking will get you farther. I mean, I have, you do music, like you produce music. I can call somebody right now that I know that's on TED Talk. I can call somebody that I know is a number one New York selling best time author. And you just learn from people. Even having this conversation from you, I'm learning things that I never knew about music production. That's amazing because I was always the singer. I was on the other end of it. So I knew what it was like to be put in front of a microphone and just freestyle. Like hearing a beat, I know what that entails.
What to do next.
Right.
And that's what I love about the musical relationship with you have with your artist, right? And it's like, even, I mean, making beats is kind of ADHD therapy for me because I'm like as soon as I could get off of the medicine, I got off the medicine, right? So my thing now is if I hear a flute, my brain's starting to put a piano behind it. And once I got that figured out, I'm putting drums behind it. And then when I make music, it's usually with that stack. And then I start taking things away to, compose now. Now we're in a sense of less is more. Let's start things interesting in the intro, turn it into a hook, turn the hook into the verse, turn the verse back into, maybe a bridge that's going to go into the hook again, that goes into, so just being a forever student of music, like that's very soothing for me. And I didn't get to mention that before, but when you brought up ADHD, I was like, it's therapy for me to just release so much energy. I can make a beat in like an hour. And it's because I feel like I've learned how to focus my ADHD. Sometimes I could be overwhelming in conversation, but it's like because I'm trying to get so much. And I'm like, with music, I can do it.
Just going a million miles an hour.
With music, I can just be like, boom, just throw it together. I've been in the studio before, and literally I had somebody just talking, and I'm just like imagining what they're saying, and I'm literally like, all right, ready? And I hit play, and a beat plays, and they're like, how'd you just make a beat without even listening to it? I was like, I was listening to you. You made this. I just took it from your brain and put it into fruition, basically. And they're like, I've never seen that in my life. I can attest that most of that came from me just not rushing my music out there and being a student of the craft first. And then getting into the studio, you know what I mean? And throwing, a piece of a beat together. And then I'll be like, all right, go take a smoke break. We won't charge you for this time, but I'm going to create a whole new beat out of this. I'll finish the beat.
And you're testing the process. Right. You went through a process.
Yes.
It wasn't like, and I'm not downing anybody that wakes up one day and says they want to be an astronaut. Go for it.
Right.
You can, it's a bittersweet thing because life is so short, right? So but live your life to do what makes you happy. And also, like my dad told me, and it's real simple. People be like, what's the best advice you've ever received from somebody? It was my dad. Because I had just gotten my first apartment after, getting sober. Like my life was finally coming together. And I remember ADHD, I had to accomplish everything. I had to buy every material I needed for my house in one day. My dad says, slow down. Rome was not built in one day, Carissa.
Right.
So your life, if you want to learn a different language, you have time. If you want to learn a new instrument, you have time. Obviously, don't procrastinate and set goals for yourself. But when you zone in on one thing, you put the work in to produce where you're able to. So when people are walking in and you may be having a conversation, but you're still listening, but you're still making, and then boom, you hit them with it. And they're like, how did you even do that? You've studied that. You've learned that, which is incredible. And then another thing about ADHD, when we're really interested in something, we can focus into it. Because even for school, for me, the subjects, math, language arts, I would sit there and I'd be like probably drooling. Who knows, But then anytime I was in chorus or music or art or psychology, my brain would instantly just zone in because it was interesting to me.
I did good in English and I did good in history because that was like story time.
Right.
Math and science, I'm like,
right, and half the math that we learned back
science gave me anxiety. Anyway. I remember. But also going off of what you were saying, that it's also like one thing in entrepreneurship and the study that I've had for myself is one quote stuck with me, major. And if I can, help somebody with this, I hope I can, right? And there's a lot of people that are busy, but very few are productive, right? So you could be running around in circles, and if A doesn't mesh with B, doesn't mesh with C, and all the steps that it takes to make a final product, then that's just all you're going to be is just in a loop of circles. You know what I mean? And that's part of where the music mentorship comes from. Because a lot of artists I've seen, I was like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, I don't know how. It's like, all right, I'm going to make it affordable for you. You got a monthly fee. You can pay me every other week. You know what I mean? Whatever payment plan, we work it out, and we get you to the next level. For sure.
Like I said, I think it's great that you're, creating opportunity for other people. I think that's important. And again, I think that as creators, that's part of our responsibility. If someone ever comes to me with a question about they're thinking about opening a podcast or, how do you market this? How do you create reels? I mean, there's so many, which is so crazy, but there's so many apps nowadays. I'm still learning about them myself. You can create anything right on your phone. Amazing. It's overwhelming. It's exciting. It's like my brain's just like, let's do this. But also being open to helping people. That's what it comes to. And that's going back to recovery, because you also mentioned that you work in recovery now, which is, I also work in recovery as well. And how has that experience been for you?
It's been amazing. I mean, I can't show up for somebody until I show up for myself. It's been spiritual currency. Honestly, I don't do it for the money because, honestly, I took a little bit of a pay cut in my other careers to do what I'm doing. But at the same time, I found I never said career unless I talked about music. I believe this is a career for me because I look forward to going to work every day. I look forward to working with my clients and finding out where they are on their journey. If I can help, I helped a client where they were talking about, this meeting, I'm sick of going to this meeting. It's not my drug of choice, XYZ, right? I was like, look, the only meeting you go to that's a shitty meeting is one where no one speaks. So if you feel this meeting is lacking something, this is your responsibility to provide for it what you feel it's lacking. Because somebody in attendance might agree. And if you keep your mouth shut, there's no room for you to complain because this is not entertainment.
Right.
And just me being that straightforward, client was like, wow. Ever since then, they just told me yesterday, They've been more open-minded, and that's my way of just being an honest person. Men in recovery were kind of like straightforward with each other. I've seen in the women's house that I work, it's a little bit more emotional and stuff like that. But I like to approach things just with God honest truth. I mean, and that's how I can help, by just being as real as I can and being like, hey, no matter what, you have to do it because this is what the requirements are if you want to graduate out and get to the next level, right? So, I mean, that's what I feel that I have a lot that I can provide my clients just with being authentic, and I don't sugarcoat them.
Well, and I feel like God brings us to where we need to be, like whatever your higher power is, God, the universe, like, and anybody that's watching this as well. Yeah. You know, I think that God brings us where we need to be. And so it can be challenging, you know, also work in treatment. So I think it can be, I was in the restaurant industry for 17 years.
Before too.
Incredible at waitressing. I've done upscale. I've had to learn a in detail menu within 3 days and take a 87 question test on it and pass with flying colors. I'm very skilled at that. What ended up happening is I found myself getting burnt out.
Right.
And so working in recovery, it doesn't feel like going to work, but it's challenging because you don't always know what condition someone's going to be in, what it's going to bring. You are pouring your own energy into other people as well. So maintaining, like you were saying, kind of like that spiritual balance and openness within self helps feed that type of job. But it's rewarding because you're seeing people who are there because they know that they want a better life for themselves. Right. Sometimes they can be really willing and sometimes they can struggle. And even in like our own lives, if you're not in recovery, well, I have my own opinions on recovery. I don't think recovery is just act. I think when people think recovery, it's like, oh, addict, alcoholic. Yeah. Recovery can mean so many different things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for me, recovery is growth within your life.
Me too.
So addiction isn't just addict, alcoholic. Addiction could be gambling, sex, eating, shopping, right?
And with that said, don't be afraid to do your second round, third round, fourth round of step work to work on some of those things, because you can start with addiction. But then even me right now, I'm trying to, you know, be better at like accepting the people that aren't like us. Where I'm like, I see addicts and alcoholics all day thriving in recovery, and then you see people that have never had that problem. And I'm thinking to myself, what's your excuse? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have one. And now I'm trying to learn from my own self, like acceptance and understanding of what they would call like the normie that would never be an addict or an alcoholic. And I'm like... And
plus we don't ever really see like what people are struggling with behind closed doors. So even if like they're not in public or in front of us, like having maybe a physical struggle with a substance, like they could be having issues when they go home. So I don't want to say I don't care who you are, but I feel like we all have different levels of trauma. Every single human that walks this world has different levels of trauma, and a lot of times addiction is stemmed from trauma. So I think, you know, what we go through in our lives, childhood trauma that happens to us, like it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility to heal from those things. And for me, like that was the missing puzzle piece that kept bringing me back to like a really fucked up place.
Right.
Is that I had so much unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just like the drinking and the drugs. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'll be free once those are gone. Yeah. But then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, feeling that's coming up. I'm a really fucked up person. I have a lot of shit going on in my head. Damn. Right. You know, we don't ever know like what's happening. And I want to challenge you on something too. And I used to get...
Down for the challenge.
Yeah, pretty much. Challenge accepted. I used to get really resentful because I felt like you did. And I was, well, I don't want to say how you felt, but I felt, because I can't speak for you, but I felt like how, who, you, why, you know? Right. So I don't want to say we're like the chosen ones, but I feel now I have so much gratitude because it's like, you're really shown this different walk of life. And you have these people that I've met. Like some people in recovery are like the best people I've met in my entire life. They will move your house. This one person, I mean, I moved down to my apartment in December. Shout out to Ange. I love you. She had never met me. And she just kept commenting on like, she's like, oh, I love your podcast. And like, you seem like a really great person. And I was like, oh, thank you. And like, you seem like a great person too. And she was like talking to me. Yeah. I had to move so fast, like out of my house within like 2 weeks. I posted a status because I said to my aunt, I'm like, I don't want to just be like, hey, can anyone help me move? My aunt said, well, post a status and ask people who can pray for you, and whoever says they'll pray for you, reach out to those people.
Right.
So she said she would. So I reached out to her. Next day she was there. She's a person in
Exactly.
recovery. Never met me before, and here she is, like moving shit from the third floor all the way into a U-Haul, just so willing.
Yeah.
Never met me in my life, and then people I knew my entire life didn't even like the status.
It's like the service.
Right.
At what lengths?
Yeah, like what lengths are you willing to go?
Right.
You know, so but it also takes you out of yourself when you're helping others. So even if you could be having like a bad day, or maybe not a bad day. I don't like to say I have bad days anymore. I have difficult moments, but like I don't have bad days anymore. You may be having a hard moment, but as soon as you help somebody else, not only does it level you, it reminds you of your purpose, it takes you out of yourself, and then you just change somebody's like day.
Right.
And it's really simple. It could be listening to somebody, like hearing somebody. Sometimes I think as humans, we feel like we have to like fix and like give somebody advice. Sometimes people just need someone to just...
Yeah, because we take in so much. It goes back onto the psychology side of things, where it's like we take in so much. You have to have some sort of a balance of what you put back out, right? So, you know, especially in active addiction and all that stuff, so much was absorbed that gets numbed. And then when they're in treatment, you know, it all comes back out. You got to be prepared for that in a sense. You know, have a filter. And I go through trainings all the time where it's like, stand on this side of the room. If you think that, you know, your relationship or your connection with your clients is most important, and stand on this side of the room if you think that boundaries are most important. And I remember I stood right in the middle. I was like, it's all important. Like, you need to have a boundary where it's like, yes, I work here, but at the same time, I believe the connection's equally as important, so that they know in a humble sense, right, that I'm on the same path. I'm just a little bit further down the line than you, but we ain't different from each other.
If you treat people and you see people, because everybody at the end of the day wants to be seen, heard, and validated, and they want to feel respected. Right. So that's why, like, even when I did trauma-based training for like the reentry program, one of the things that they talked about is if I'm talking to somebody, I'm gonna get down to eye level with you. I'm not going to stand over you and look down on you, because that's superior, and that can, especially if you have trauma, can make you feel targeted and under attack, and then you're going to, you know, maybe go into fight or flight, you're going to freeze up, you're going to it could cause PTSD, all these things. So yeah, when you treat people like humans and you're like, hey, I see you, I hear you, you're seen, just that in itself makes the whole difference, because connection it's the opposite of addiction, but it's the opposite of so many detrimental things. And humans, like, we're meant to connect, you know, and you never know just by like hearing somebody and seeing somebody, because we're so misunderstood, especially when we're in active addiction. And like, I've had to take, you know, I've even if I don't remember doing things, I've done things in active addiction, and I had to take responsibility for those things. And those are really uncomfortable. And some things you hear, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Well, it did. And so, you know, part of that is just recognizing the behavior, and also understanding that, like, we are two different people when we're in active addiction versus when we're sober. Yes. Completely. And it can be really difficult, I think, for people to understand, because they're like, well, you know, no one forces blood. No, you're absolutely right. No.
Somebody at a meeting last night said exactly that.
Yeah. It's like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They say it in the big book, and not to like be a big book thumper, but it's really, I mean, anybody that drinks or does drugs, nobody is the same. When they're under the influence, it impairs your ability to be who you are. Even if you may be a little more loud, you might be, you know, pulling a Coyote Ugly on
some of us have no conscience.
Right. And so it's you become a person that's unrecognizable. And, you know, I think accountability for ourselves is important, but I also think, you know, to not be a prisoner of your past. Like our past, you were talking about purpose, and you were talking about, like, I don't know if you remember if you were referring to like your clients that you have, like, even within your production, but every single thing that we go through in our life, even if it's painful, it sets us up to be able to be the people that we're meant to be. Exactly. I feel like I sacrificed most of my 20s. I don't remember half of my 20s. It's not something I'm proud about. I actually got really resentful at myself because I felt like I sacrificed a lot of time. So now I'm like catching up. Well, the truth is, that's a lie I tell myself. The truth is I had to go through those experiences, because now working in recovery, I can help those people from those experiences. I can have this platform where I can have compassion to identify with people. I am able to have gratitude in such a different way.
Yeah.
There's a speech I listened to by Steve Harvey. Before he got famous, he was living in his car. He had $50. His wife left him, all these things. He wanted to give up. Basically, people were like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't know why you just don't go back to like live with your wife and work a 9-to-5 job. But he kept believing in himself for greater purpose. He talked about how when he was finally made it, after all the sacrifice and hardships he had, that he realized that like God put him through that in order to be able to receive the blessings he had in his life today.
Exactly.
I'll never forget that. That always stuck with me because it's so true.
It is.
But you don't see it when you're going through it, even where you are today. Like, and I'm sure where you are today, like, is not where you thought you were going to be. Maybe you had a different plan. Like, we always think we, you know.
I used to be so shy. Believe it or not, like, I'm the kind of person that I talk a lot and I'm very open and stuff like that, but I got to be comfortable in order for me to be that person. Mm-hmm. So it's like when people meet me for the first however long it takes, basically, I'm just looking around and I'm like, I'm absorbent. And then, you know, when I finally feel comfortable enough, I got friends that know, you know,
you don't
they've been in the studio with me and I just sit there and I'm just like listening and I'm focused. You know what I mean? I'm like, sometimes I even look like I'm in a bad mood because I'm just like, okay. But then, you know, once I can open up, and then again, like, it helps with the recovery and, you know, being where we've been and what we've been through, the empathy that we have is a little bit different. Because I got clients that'll be like, I connect more with the BHTs than I do with my therapist. And I'm like, yeah, well, your therapist has an education I don't got. But what I have, you know, they got the book smarts.
You have the experience.
We got the street smarts, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, I've been there, and yeah, I'm going to have a little bit more empathy for you. But at the same time, I'm going to give it to you just as direct as they will, because it's like, I know what's medically necessary to get to the next step. A lot of clients will ask me, and even people, be like, how'd you go from being here to being there? And now, no medicine. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I just always did what was medically necessary. And I never went against my medical advice. And when they told me, all right, it's time we can, you know, be free and use, you know, meditation and using the spiritual tools that they offer in recovery, I got to where I'm at. I'm always struggling with this where I'm like, I ain't telling nobody to be like me, but this is what you can have in your version if you just do what you need to do and what's suggested.
Well, the same thing you're doing with the production, right? So you're seeing somebody, you're seeing potential in somebody, you're seeing what they can. Yeah. You're taking who they are,
right,
and you're helping them embrace that.
Yeah.
And that is what it's about. That's what recovery to me is about, is embracing your natural self. And unlearn, and in a way, unlearning everything that you really thought you knew.
Right.
Because even from kids, we're programmed. This whole society is designed to program and control. And so when you look at all these things that we're learning, like the news is propaganda, all these things that are happening in the world, the chaos, right?
Right.
Or what, you know, for me, it was like other people's opinions of me. I allowed to dictate who I was. I will, oh, well, Carissa, you're a great person. If I was like ADHD and I'm super social, because I can be just as introverted.
Yeah.
Especially when I take on a lot of emotion, I can go home and I'm just like, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. Like, I need to regroup. And so, but I've learned to balance that. But if I was like super talkative, people are like, oh, yeah, you're great. Like, I love you. And then if I was really introverted, because I'm just like, oh my God, I'm overstimulated. What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? And then I'm like, oh, I must be in a bad mood. Oh, I must be depressed. What's wrong with me? Or if I made a mistake, you're a bad person. Oh, I'm a bad person. Like, I just allowed so many people to dictate who I was. And I will hold myself accountable and have uncomfortable conversations with people still today. Like, yeah, I did do that, and I'm sorry I harmed you in that way. And, like, that's not my intention. And moving forward, and I'm trying to be better. And, like, I'll own my shit. But what I'm also not going to do is be a product of my past and allow that to, I guess, in a way, be a prisoner to my past. Because that can also derail you for your purpose as well. Self-forgiveness is very important. And having that experience, like you said, opens space up to helping other people. So I guess my next question for you, because we're coming up on time, you know, what are you hoping that the future endures for you? Like, what are some next steps on your journey? I know you mentioned the mentorship, but like, just like within yourself and your growth, like, what are you hoping to experience like in the future for yourself?
More music and more recovery-based music. I think that that's amazing, especially because there's been so much like drug and violence glorified music in the past, and I'm like, you know, let's make some healed warrior music. Where's the music for us?
The real power.
Right?
The
Where's
real
the music
power.
for us? Like,
I mean, look at Jelly Roll and like NF and all
exactly.
these people.
Yeah, I'm a huge Jelly Roll fan. I kind of stopped making music for a while because some of my guys got arrested and now they're behind the wall. Shout out Sicker Than Most. Free New Country, free Tyler Durden. Those are my guys, bro. They're still my guys. I talk to them through the apps, you know what I mean, and check in on them all the time. I had to take some time away from music because we were developing their sound. Not saying that they didn't have one before, but with me, you know what I mean, as the producer. And I got some dark times myself. They got themselves in a little bit of trouble. And it's just me getting to the next step and, creating with other artists, taking my mentorship to the next level. I used to call it consultations, but that sounds too much like I know what I'm doing and you don't.
Mentorship, I think it's great.
Mentorship, I was like, it's kind of the same word, and it's the same
right,
goal.
But it does make a difference with how you would like. For me, with people that would be willing to sponsor my podcast, partnerships are like a different terminology.
Right.
It's simple things that make such a difference. I'm excited to see. We're going to be doing a part 2 podcast too, by the way. So stay tuned.
Definitely.
But I just want to thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experience with your production and your growth and recovery and working in recovery, and like I can't wait to see what you continue to do. Like any way that I can support you moving forward, I'm here.
Right.
You have another person in your network now that's here to support you, and thank you. I appreciate that. We'll do part 2 soon. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been an amazing opportunity, and I want to just give a shout out to everybody that supports Faith Over Fear. Again, this is Brian Tyrie. His music is available on all platforms. If you are interested in a mentorship, you can reach him directly. Sounds like an amazing opportunity. And Faith Over Fear is available on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. And if anybody ever wants to share on here, just reach out to me directly. We all have a testimony. We all have something that we can share that's going to help another person. So let's connect and make a difference. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and thank you so much. Thank you.